Hello, sir. We are at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, and we really are very pleased to meet you here in the middle of the mobile operators world to talk a little about your perspective, because we are so very interested in your presence in Romania. You have a very large factory in Slatina. First of all, what is your role here in the mobile world capital?
Hello. Here, our role is becoming every time more and more important. Even if, let's say, our business is coming from the fixed network, nowadays it's becoming even more important in the mobile, because all the mobile will drag and will need more fiber behind. I mean, to support the new technologies, the evolution from 4 to 5G, even future technologies that will require much more densification of antennas, higher capacity, lower latency, you cannot do it without fiber. I mean, even some important CEOs of telecom operators are saying there is no 5G without fiber.
Do you think it is only a buzzword, or the mobile operators are really preparing themselves for this big step? I mean, from the European perspective, because there is a big issue here that Europe is losing momentum on 5G, and Asia and the United States are growing much higher than us.
I think from the European perspective, there is a little bit of buzzwords. I mean, we're having a global view because we have presence in the States, in Latin America, a lot in Europe and in APAC. And we can see that there are other countries, other regions that are leading the 5G, not Europe at all. It was the case in 3G. In the 4G, we were co-leading, but 5G, we will not lead at all from a European perspective. And here, I want to say that there are companies like in the US or in Korea, even in China, that will be taking the lead of the 5G. And I think that real commercial 5G will not happen till second half next year in Europe.
How do you see the requirements from the mobile operators' evolution? What do they ask new from you in this 5G era?
Yeah, very interesting questions, because many times the telecom operators, they want to go and evolve to the 5G, but they don't know exactly how this will be, this evolution. I mean, it's a little bit of indefinition, and we need to, let's say, make the road as we walk, no? So, but in this sense, there are some trends that are interesting. One is densification. Of course, they want to deploy much more fiber, even if they do not know what will be the connection points of the antenna sites or the business, but they want densification. This is one concept. And then another one that is popping up, that is also very interesting for us, is the power supply. I mean, as they will need to put a lot of new antenna sites, these sites requires power. And this is quite complex to ask the local power utilities to get the connection. So this is why they are thinking on remote powering, not only communication, but also remote powering. And here we are developing new solutions that are hybrid cables. That, for instance, for the time being, we do not produce yet in Slatina, in our Romanian factory. But if we see that there is an important growth of this segment of the market, we plan to invest also in Slatina for hybrid cables, because we have the telecom and also the energy facilities or capabilities.
Do you think it is possible for some countries to overlap the 4G step and to go directly to 5G if they have only 3G in their country?
No, I don't think so, because at the end 4G is more about having more spectrum, more capacity and more densification. And I think that the 4G is an intermediate step. It's going to be very difficult for a country to jump from 3 to 5G directly. I think the natural is the evolution of having a good coverage of 4G that will allow you to start deploying or evolving into 5G. There are countries, I mean, the more fiber density you have in the country, it will facilitate. But, I mean, for sure you need to go through a good 4G network. And for instance, because how we see it, and this depends from country to country, the 5G will be selective at the beginning, will be only in a few cities and a few areas. So the rest of the country needs to be covered by 4G. And then probably in the exhibition here, there are a lot of vendors that are offering solutions that combine 4 and 5G in order to exploit the maximum capacity of the spectrum.
Romania seems to be a very interesting country for this mobile ecosystem, because you have the plant in Slatina. You may also know about Catrain plants in Timișoara for the antennas. So we have two important components, yes, in our country. Why did you choose our country?
Well, first because we already had a footprint in Slatina, that it comes from Pirelli times, and I think it was founded by Siemens. So we decided for Romania for two things. One, because we already had a footprint, and this is important, that you don't need to build from scratch or from zero. We had the local knowledge. And second, is one of the most attracting countries from Eastern Europe in order to make an investment because of the skills of the labor, also the labor cost. So it's from this point of view, it's a very attractive country for investments.
So what shall be the plans for extending the plant here in our country?
Well, I think there is still room to invest and expand the factory in Slatina. We are just now completing the last phase, because since the last 3 years we have been expanding year on year. So we are just completing the last expansion. Probably we'll not now to sit down a bit and understand where the market is evolving, in what type of cables, but for sure that within the European environment, our first option to go on with investment in the telecom sector is Slatina.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the intelligent connectivity. It's a topic here on all banners at Mobile World Congress, and I think you are in the middle of it, because you combine so many verticals, especially energy and telecom. How do you see this position of yourself?
I think that yes, here, I mean, I see from two angles or two points of view. When intelligent connectivity is mentioned by the telecom operators, I think they want to go beyond the pure connectivity, because it's becoming a commodity, and they want to differentiate. And the way to differentiate is to add services on top of the pure connectivity, and sometimes trying to compete with the OTTs, the over-the-top guys, that are the guys that are eating the big part of the cake to the telecom operators. I think that they can only do it having a more focus on the customer, because up to now the telecom operators have not been that much customer focused, while the OTT guys, the likes of Amazon or Netflix, they are very, very customer oriented, and they have in the top of their mind the customer experience, while the telecom operators not at all. I think they need to change this mind, and the intelligent connectivity goes in this way. Then when we move to our level, for us intelligent connectivity is to add a digital layer or a layer of intelligence to our products. And here we are developing also some software that you can monitor our cables, you can monitor our connectivity, all our products.
Do you think the 5G era is going to stimulate the smart cities perspectives, because you should be present there also?
Yes, for sure. I think today is very difficult what 5G will stimulate, but for sure will stimulate new things that today we don't know and we are not aware, or even we cannot imagine. This happened also with 4G. I mean, the first time that a smartphone was presented in the market, no one could imagine the applications that today we are running on a smartphone. And for the 5G, is the same. A few minutes ago, I was having a meeting with a North American operator that is a customer of ours, and we're discussing of the several applications or verticals that can have the 5G, but moreover the 5G with the edge computing. When with the mobile in 5G and edge computing, you could do, image recognition, and you can do a stocking of a warehouse in real time. I mean, it's almost unlimited the new applications we could imagine in all the sectors, in all the industries.
How could you summarize this edition of Mobile World Congress?
I would say 5G is really here, not in all the markets, but we can say that this year in 2019 we will see real and commercial launches of 5G in US, in Korea, and in China.
As you probably know, and for sure you know, one big producer of antenna was bought by Ericsson. How would you comment this trend in companies, in big companies acquiring some components that could affect the development of the rest of the industry?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but a difficult one to answer. I would say that in this case, the Katrain or the new Katrain inside the Ericsson group cannot be close or exclusive only to the Ericsson business. I think it needs to be open to the market for two reasons. I think one is because otherwise maybe it's going to be difficult to make this antenna business sustainable. And second, because you need to benchmark with the market in terms of pricing, lead times, and products. And the best way to benchmark with the market is to be able to sell and offer your products to other parties, not your, let's say, internal customers. So I think it can be a good move, but always that they keep, let's say, Catrain as a sort of independent company that's supplying not only internally to the group, but also to third parties.
And I have another question. How would you prepare yourself for the next step, for the 6G or 7G era, when mobile operators are keen on the voice via satellite? It will be another perspective, totally different. How do you think this step could impact your business?
We're just trying to imagine the 5G. And now it's difficult to find. But I believe in the satellite, let's say, connections, but for specific applications, but not as a general coverage. And mainly because of two things. One is the latency, or the delay when the signal goes up and down. Because for these applications of verticals in the Industry 4.0 or the driverless car, you need a very low latency, latencies that are maximum 10 milliseconds. And this is not possible with the satellites. You need more, and this is why even, and now you have seen this word edge computing, you need to have the computing more close to the user, close or behind the antenna. So for this reason, I don't see it as a global application, the satellite, but maybe in more rural areas where it's more difficult to deploy, let's say, a LAN solution or a terrestrial solution, there can be room for satellites.
So the 5G is a buzzword, definitely, but how could you summarize it? Do you have some key points of the 5G ecosystem from your perspective?
Yeah, I would like to summarize the 5G, and I'm quoting what one of our main customers told me is 5G is about three things. It's about fiber, it's about power, and it's about real estate. I mean, it's about fiber because you need more capacity, you need more densification of antennas. This is clear. Second, it's power because all these antenna sites need to be powered, and with this densification is becoming more complex. And the new antennas with the MIMO and all these new systems will require more power consumption. So power is becoming another problem to be fixed or to be solved. And the third one is real estate, because of course with this new densification, mainly in the metropolitan or the urban areas, you need to find new locations or new places where to put the antennas. And sometimes those places are not available or even are too costly. So managing this real estate will be very key to deploy the 5G.
So we can see that for the consumer perspective, not only the 5G devices, the smartphones should be, I don't know, the key features in the future, but especially the smart homes. We shall see some 5G facilities in our smart homes.
Yes, I see some, let's say, applications in smartphones, but I think that the 4G will start mainly in the industry or in the verticals on the use cases, because it's where, I mean, the telecom operators, to deploy the 5G, they need to go through an important investment or important capex. And of course, as everybody is looking for the return on investment. And also, as one colleague was explaining me a few days ago, if you look at the sector of the telecom operators, it's one of the lowest in terms of return on investment. So, and here I see two solutions. One is either some more infrastructure sharing between the telecom operators to have a better return on investment, or the second is to find new revenue streams. And in order to find new revenues to increase the top line, I think it's not gonna happen with the residential, with the private users. It's gonna happen with the business. And here I think with the 5G, with the edge computing, there will be a lot of applications that will help in terms of efficiencies and cost savings to the business or the industry. And here I see a clear way that the 5G is a killer application.